Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, meet again virtually. How are you today? It's nice to meet you virtually. I hope you are in a good condition, yeah. And how about last week's meeting? Do you get the point of every single explanation that I gave to you virtually? Or is there any suggestion for the activity that you have done in virtual class? So you can give me feedback or suggestion or critics or something else so that I can improve the way I explain the material to you. Okay? So now we are going to talk about the next topic for the study of English skill, yeah? The topic that we are going to discuss is about language acquisition. Have you ever heard the terms acquisition? I believe for language you have learned that last week, yeah? For acquisition itself, have you ever heard? Okay, just find it out in Oxford Dictionary or other dictionary for acquisition. What is it actually? Yeah, before we talk about language acquisition, have you ever think on how actually you finally or you realize you can communicate with other people with that language or with the language that you have? How many language actually you have? You mastered. For me, I can speak Japanese, and then Bahasa Indonesia, of course. For English, yeah, this is the medium of our activity in the college, yeah. So I learned English, and yes, I use it to communicate with you, to explain the material to you. And the other language is like Sundanese, but I'm not very well in communicating by using Sundanese language. Yeah, I only know several terms, several vocabularies, and I also use that with, for example, with my mom, with my friend, but not very intense. Yeah, and I can say that the Sundanese that I got, I only use that for, if I say that it's only used in a surface layer, yeah. I don't know, like, if if we say that uh bahasa halusnya, like that, yeah. I only uh be able to speak Sundanese. For most people speak Sundanese, I don't know whether it is okay to speak with the older, or it is actually used to speak with our friends, or actually we use that for someone whose age are under my age, like that. I only use that as the way to communicate in rare, in not rare but sometimes, yeah, sometimes in some occasion, in some activity with my very close friends that maybe comes from Sundanese, from Bandung or other Sundanese communities, or Sundanese people, yeah, and with my mom or relatives from Sundanese, yeah. And if you think and you realize that you can speak bahasa very good, or you can speak Japanese very good. How how you finally be able to speak that language? What is the first process actually? In what age that you realize, oh yeah, I can speak this language? Oh, how can I communicate with other people by using this language? And how actually I master the language, like that. And when you learn the other language, how is actually the first process? Only by hearing, or sometimes you practice that, or you collect the vocabulary and you try to use that for communicating with other, or how? Yeah. So this process is actually started from very early age in your life. Yeah. So today we are going to discuss how actually we acquire language. Yeah. So have you found the definitions of acquire? I hope so. Yeah. So how is actually uh, language acquired? How how is it? Or what is acquired? Acquired means that you absorb, you try to learn, you try to understand, yeah, you try to keep and then proceed what you got, yeah, in terms of language, right? For example, you got new vocabulary. What is the first step when you got the new vocabulary? For example, you got new unfamiliar word. What is it? You heard that, yeah, you listen carefully to the word, how is the word pronounced, yeah, and then maybe you try to pronounce it. For example, distinguish, I heard that from the other people. Distinguish, what is it? Distinguish, you keep that in your mind, you try to perceive that, and you try to catch the context of those people when talking that verb of that words, yeah, and then you try to understand what is actually the people try to give the information by saying distinguish. And then, for example, if you need help of the dictionary, you finally open the dictionary and try to find what is actually distinguished. Like in the beginning of our activity today, I asked you what is actually acquired. Maybe you try to hear the word acquired and then acquired, and then you open the dictionary and then you hear my explanation about the dictionary and then you see the context of what I'm talking about using this vocabulary, and then when you keep that information in your mind and you try to use that to communicate, it means that you get new vocabulary, you acquired one vocabulary. For language, of course, this is a complex. This is more complex than you only hearing new vocabulary. As we know that language is a complex system. Yeah. In language, we know the rules of sentence, the rules of word, and then the rules of sounds, the rules of meaning, the rules of context, and the rules of the discourse. And we also get a point of when someone gives the meaning in this way, people may get the meaning in different way in terms of the perspective. So it deals with the pragmatic. When the meaning is accepted in a correct way or indifferent way, when the meaning is discussed, then we deals with the semantic. So this complex system in language, how is actually we learn that? Yeah, as a human, as a human, we have this system, this way or this method to communicate with other human. As a human, right? Yeah, as a human, I mean. Between human and human, between person and person, between people, between community. We use this way to communicate, to have communication. What is actually the purpose of communication? Sending message, expressing something, or saying something, describing something, explaining something. That is the purpose of communication. Then how actually we absorb, we acquire this very complex system so that we can use that to communicate with other. Before we go far, actually the language acquisition has one subdisciplines in the subject, yeah. But for S1 degree, we actually don't learn that deeper. We only got the new knowledge in the surface. So here we are going to discuss about the language acquisition, especially the theory that underground the thought, yeah, the perspective. So this in this case we are going to discuss about language acquisition for the for the introduction only. Yeah, we will talk about the theory that lead our mind, our perspective, so that we can go through this knowledge to deep more information about English language, especially the skills in English language. Okay, so in language acquisition, we have actually there are so many theory regarding to language acquisition, but I only took four theories from the expert that we are going to discuss today. Yeah, the theories of of uh, language acquisition, especially the process, I took it from four theories. The first from Skinner, yeah, and then the second one from Chomsky, and then the third from Piaget, and then next is Brunner. Actually, there are so many theories, but I only underline these four theories, yeah, underline these four theories for your background knowledge, so that later if you take master degrees, yeah, if you take master degrees, then you can get more and deeper knowledge about language acquisition, yeah, especially second language acquisition. Okay, okay, now let's discuss for behaviorists from Skinner. So Skinner introduced the theories of behaviorists, yeah, uh, for the process of language acquisition. Yeah, for the language acquisition, what is actually underlined by Skinner when he introduced behaviorists for the process of language acquisition. So behaviorist psychologists developed these theories while carrying out a series of experiments to animals. Yes, the first, uh, the first, uh, the first steps that the behaviorist expert examine these theories when they do experiment to animals. What did they do? They observe the rats, the birds, yeah, uh, to perform some tasks, to perform some activities, yeah. This is to find out the habit they form, yeah, in accepting the information. Okay, the researchers in doing this experiment, yeah, they give reward and punishment. I think if you search in YouTube, there are so many ways, many research regarding to the punishment and reward to see the behavior, of animals, yeah. So in this case, there is undesirable behavior for the animal that was punished. Yeah, and there also undesirable behavior for the animals that being rewarded for for the behavior when they accept the information. Yeah, Skinner, and then Skinner proposed a theory on explanation for the language acquisition of human. So he thinks that what the response given from the animals will be the same as human response for the information in terms of the behavior. He stated that he stated that the basic process and relation which give verbal behavior its spatial characteristics are now fairly well understood. Much of the experimental work responsible for this advance has been carried out on other species. Yeah, but the results have proved surprisingly free of species restriction. Recent work has shown that the method can be extended to human behavior without serious modification. So he thinks that the behavior response from the animal has no restriction to humans behavior response. So in this case, Skinner suggests that child imitates child imitates language from its parents or the carriers. Yeah, if the attempt is successfully given to the children will recognize the spoken word by the adults. So in this case, the child will imitate and the utterance will be produced successfully. Yeah, will be produced successfully. This theory has, of course, a limitation. Not a limitation, but there are some limitation. So it is not accepted in very easy way because in this theory there are so many weakness. Yeah, because the experiments were given to the animal, and Skinner think that the behavior or the response of animal are the same with humans response. So this become the weakness. um Brunner, oh sorry, Skinner state that children imitate the language of their parents and carrier because the response will be the same. Because when the parents give um, what is it example, give models, then the children will easily imitate. Yeah, the limitation here discover that language couldn't be worked simply by imitating, but it should be actively out and applying the rules. There must be rules that should be understood by the children, and it cannot be easily done by imitating. The children should understand the rules of the language itself. Yeah, and then the second one, language acquisition works by the stages. So uh, it should follow the development milestone. As we know that children cannot accidentally say the word exactly with the parents. Yeah, for example, in the age of 6, when parents speak many things, can the baby imitate directly? It is not. The developmental milestone should be guided according to what abilities that appropriate to these children and this baby. Yeah, for example, at 6 months, what is actually the ability of language that can be developed? Yeah, and then the next limitation is about children are often unable to repeat what adults say. Like I have explained just now, that for 6 months baby cannot say many words that the parents say, right? And then the next few children receive much explicit grammatical correction. Yes, of course. Grammatical errors becomes very problematic cases when a child start to learn language, right? For example, in bahasa Indonesia, cucu mama, cucu mama. What is actually this child wants to say? Maybe she or he wants to say, "Mommy, I want milk. I want a bottle of milk." Yeah, but it is not simply imitated by the children. Yeah, it is about the grammatical. It is about the error in grammar, and it should be corrected in many ways, in many times, and in a series of process, right? And then the next limitation, there is critical period for language acquisition. Yeah, when a child grows not more than 7 years old, yeah, in that period they develop their ability, and more than that, the stages will be different. And so this becomes the weakness or the denial of this theory from Skinner that believe that giving behavior can easily represent the result of understanding in language. The point here is the behaviorism by Skinner. He believed that the children imitate adult in terms of the language. Yeah. Okay, that is the theories from Skinner. While Chomsky, this is the second expert, yeah, the second expert who say that biological process determine the human evolved brain with their linguistic information at birth. Children have natural faculties so-called language acquisition device. So Chomsky believed that children have something in their brain, have something that they bring from the birth. There is a biological process that determines the ability of language. In this case, linguistic ability. So Chomsky believes that human language shares common principle where language acquisition devices contains the concept of verb tense. Noam Chomsky published a criticism of behaviorist theories in 1957. In addition to some arguments, he focused particularly on improvised language input children receive. Yeah, so he said that adults do not typically speak in grammatically complete sentence. In addition, what child hears is only small samples of language. So Chomsky concluded that children must have something in their mind, yeah, in terms of language. So this theory believes that the process is biologically determined. The human species has evolved brain whose neural circuit contains linguistic information at birth. He believes that children or every human has devices in their brain that provide information about language. It is only simply by activating this device so that children can use language by the what is it the system called language acquisition devices, LAD. The other expert support that LAD is more like mechanism for working out the rules of language. So it is like a machine, like a machine that is put in our brain. We only have to turn it on so that this machine can process the language. Yeah, we have the examples of this theory. LAD already contain the concept of verb. So Chomsky believes that actually human have understood the concept of verb by listening the information such as word, played, and pat. And the children will form the hypothesis that past tense must constructed with these kinds of verb. Yeah. And then Chomsky's groundbreaking theory remains that the center of the debate about language acquisition has been modified. Chomsky's original position was LAD contains specific knowledge about language. Yeah, some experts provide the evidence. There is evidence for these theories. Yeah, the first the production of speech in human anatomy. By the system that provided in our brain, human body are designed to produce the speech, as we know what we call as organ of speech. When we are able to produce sound, means that there is a set of organs that support in sounds production that is used to communicate with others. Yeah, that is the first evidence. Yeah, remember that Chomsky believes that biological process, yeah, biological process supports the productions or the acquisitions of language. Yeah, the first evidence is by the existence of organs of speech or the productions of speech. And the second one, the formation of Creole varieties of English appears to be the result of LAD at work. Yeah, later in linguistics, you will hear about Creole and Pidgin, Pidgin and Creole. It will be discussed more in second language acquisition, yeah, where human use the language from, human or people from many different language, they communicate and they mix the language from their culture, and finally they create new language. So it deals with Creole and Pidgin. Yeah, this becomes the second evidence. The third evidence is the deaf children could gesture replace spoken word in which the grammatical language represented in their own right. It means that something in deaf children regulate the way they communicate with other. Yeah, this is for abnormal children. Yeah, the deaf can use their gesture to examine the language. Yeah, that is the third evidence. But this theory also has limitation. The first is this theory takes no account of the interaction between children and their carriers. So this theory actually did not study the real children. It only examines or focuses on the theory itself. On the theory itself, without examining the real interactions of the children, without examining the real children. Yeah, if I say that this only the what is it, the examining of the literature, examining the theories, they collect the theories, the information in terms of the theories, and then conclude something. So they produce the theory of innateness. Okay, remember that Chomsky brings the theory of innateness, yeah? Who said that, yes, children have innate ability to produce language, yeah? As I have explained before. And then the second limitation, receiving frequent input of language leads to limited progress of language development. Interaction also needed in the development of language, because Chomsky does not examine the interaction. So the weakness is we cannot see the frequent input of language of the children. So we can know how is actually the progress of language development. So this become the weakness of this theory. Yeah. And the next is the cognitive theory by Piazza. The complete name is John Piazza. Yeah, John Piazza. Piazza believed that language acquisition is placed within the context of a child's mental or cognitive development. So he focuses on the cognitive development. Cognitive development, yeah. A child should understand the concept before he can acquire the particular language. The first steps to do, or the first step to acquire here is understanding about the concept. So Piaget believed that the cognitive development determines how someone masters language. So I can simply say that those who has low cognitive will produce low language, like that, yeah, in simple way. And Piaget said that the cognitive theory draws attention to the large increase in children's vocabulary at around this age, suggesting a link between object permanence and the learning of label for the object. So it put the increase of children's vocabulary that relate with knowing what is the vocabulary uh, or the vocabulary represent the object, the permanence object. Means that, for example, if the if we want our children understand about book, then we have to show the book and say book, the object of book, and then say that it is book. Yeah, so it will put more benefits on the cognitive development, so that the children's vocabulary will be increased. Yeah, this this is the theory of cognitive from Piaget. Of course, every theory has limitation, included the theory from Piaget. What are they? The first, during the first year of 18 months, yeah, 18 months, the connection of the type explained above are possible to trace, but as the child continues to develop, it becomes harder to find clear link between language and intellectual. When child grows, for example, from 6 months old, the child or the baby start from ba 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 like that, and then grows to 8 months, become the baby is able to say mama like that. We can see that the cognitive is developed and the language also developed. Yeah, but as the age grows, we cannot see that again. For example, when children in age of or teenager in senior high school, yeah, um, okay, we can see that, for example, he got good score, but it doesn't guarantee that the language also develop. This is what it means. Yeah, maybe in the beginning year, in the first year, in the stage of baby, we can see that when the cognitive is developed, the language also develop. But when the age gradually increase, we cannot see that anymore. Yeah, we cannot see clearly whether is he actually developed the language as the cognitive also develop. We cannot guarantee that. Okay. And the second one, some studies focus on children who have learned to speak fluently despite abnormal mental development. Yes. Uh, this theory only focus on those who are normal. But this theory does not examine what happened to those who got abnormal mental development. How about the language? And there is no guarantee for the abnormal mental development also shows low language development. We cannot say that. Okay. And then the next, syntax in particular doesn't appear to rely on general intellectual growth. Yes, the ability to understand the syntax here does not appear that someone's intellectual growth. Yeah, as I have told you that in the growth of the age, we cannot guarantee that the language ability also increase. Yeah, so this become the limitation for this theory. The next theory, oh sorry, the next theory, uh, I click, I misclick the what is it, the slide, yeah, so I deleted that. So wait a minute, I'm going to see to open the first. Yeah, the next is interaction. Interaction is from interaction from Brunner ya, interaction from Brunner. For the interaction theory, this is contrast ya. This is contrast to what has been explained by Chomsky. Chomsky said about innateness, right? Chomsky elaborate about innateness, and interaction is ignore the theory from Chomsky. Brunner said that the theories have stressed the important language to the input that the children receive from the parents or caregiver. Yeah, this theory said that language exists for the purpose of communication and can only be learned in the context of interaction. Yeah, so when there is interaction, so it means that people communicate. It means that they actually acquire language. It means that the language acquisition process is happening or happens. Yeah, interaction is, in this case, Brunner suggests that language behavior of adults when talking to children is specially adapted to support acquisition process. Yeah, so the interaction supports the acquisition process. So in acquisition process we need interaction. Brunner also point out that language acquisition support system, or we call it as LASS, yeah, is the response to LAD. That LAD does not work by itself. It needs supports. In this case, LASS, or Language Acquisition Support System, is formed in terms of interaction. He concluded that turn-taking structure of conversation is developed through games and nonverbal communication long before the actual words are uttered. So when a baby are finally able to utter the word, actually the backward process should be done. Yeah, should be done in terms of what? For example, we do interesting game with baby, or maybe non-verbal communication by touching or by hugging, by other way. Yeah, that is uh, the method to support the words of LAD. Okay, and of course this theory has limitation. What is actually the limitation? The limitation of this theory, yeah, um, children will learn more quickly with frequent interaction, as all children pass through the same stages in acquiring language. But there are cultures in which adults do not adopt special ways of talking to children, so the cognitive development stages might be useful, but it is not essential. What does it mean? Means that not every culture support to this theory. Yeah, not every single person have their own method to support the process of language acquisition. Yeah, what is the case? The case is that we can found that some children have delay stage of speaking. Yeah, why? What happened? It because adult doesn't give the activity of interaction. The adult does not have special way to support the language acquisition for the children. So need it needs a special effort so that the language acquisition of the children can build completely. Yeah, this is the limitation of the input theory or interaction theory from Brunner. Okay, So that's the last theory. Yeah. Do you get the point of what I told you? I hope so. So, to check your understanding for my explanation, here I provide the assignment. Yeah, as usual, this is the assignment. The assignment for next week, yeah? So, in your opinion, based on the explanation of each language acquisition theory, which one is logically understood? Or maybe you have your own opinion after examining each theory of language acquisition. Maybe you collect information from behaviorists, and then innateness, and then interaction, and then uh, input and cognitive. You combine that and you build the series that actually the process of language acquisition are involved those theories. Yeah, so let me know your opinion, let me know your argument deal with the process of language acquisition. Yeah, so please make an article for your argument. Type in A4 times New Roman 12, 1.5 space, and minimally 3 paragraphs. Okay? You should submit that next week. If you have question, then you can give your question in WhatsApp group, yeah? And then we discuss in WhatsApp group. I hope you can understand my explanation today and you can make your article. Okay, please create good article, not only copy paste. Remember that it train your ability in writing. Okay, okay, finally it's up. Yeah, thank you for watching my video again. This second video provides so many information about the theories and language acquisition. Yeah, I hope you can understand that, and see you next week. Just stay healthy and stay safe. Okay? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Of course, you have to share. Bye.